Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
And greetings once again, music lovers, thrill seekers, and really, you music lovers, hang in there. Thrill seekers and conversationalists all across the fruited plain. It is Friday on the EIB network.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
Open Line Friday, yes sirree. One of the greatest career risks ever taken by a major or minor media figure. Because a minor media figure can't take risks. A minor media figure is a risk. Telephone number is 800-282-2882. What's the risk? Well, when we go to the phones today, the callers are totally in charge of what we talk about. Meaning, whatever you want to talk about, you can. There are some restrictions, but they're not worth mentioning. They're pretty minor. So here's the telephone number, 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushmo@eibnet.com. I will be appearing on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace this Sunday. Just confirmed that. And just in case I forget to mention it the rest of the day, I wanted to have it out. I think I'm going to be up first. I don't know. But if it's like last time, I'm up first. And then the rest of the show will be about what I said. And that's if I do my job right. Yes, sirree. Now, the drive-bys are trying to destroy the two leading Republicans again today, Donald Trump and Ben Carson. They are doing a terrific job of taking Trump out of context. He's leaving the stage. I guess it was last night. He was doing a personal appearance somewhere. He's leaving the stage. He's finished. And a drive-by gets amongst the autograph seekers and starts peppering him with questions. And he answered a question that, and it's how the reporter is purposely misinterpreting it, to say that Donald Trump last night said that he's in favor of a registration database of all Muslims in the U.S. And everybody in the drive-by says run with it, and he didn't say it. And we have the audio soundbite coming up to illustrate it. Jimmy Iovine, who used to be at Beats Music with Dr. Dre, personal friend of Mr. Snerdley's. Apple Music, Apple Incorporated purchased Beats, and now they've got Apple Music, and Iovine is one of the brains behind it. And I guess they put together a really class, really appreciated TV commercial for Apple Music that debuted at, I guess, the Grammys or the Emmys or some such thing, and they replayed it on CBS this morning, yesterday, I think. And then they had Iovine on there with Mary J. Blige, and Iovine said some things about women and their inability to find music, to explain why Apple had set Apple Music up the way they have, and that got Iovine into big, big trouble. He's had to apologize for insulting women and their supposed inability to find music, to search for and find music. Wait till you hear what he said. Folks, it's purely generational. It's not, the guy's not a sexist or a misogynist. It's just when you hear this, it'll be perfectly understandable and clear what the poor guy was trying to say. Here I am defending Iovine, is probably, well, I don't know. I don't know anything about him other than his reputation in the music business. Well, you know what? Let's go. So I mentioned, let's just do it. Here's audio soundbite number one. And it is CBS this morning. I guess it's yesterday morning. Yeah. Yesterday morning this happened, and it's Iovine and Mary J. Blige being interviewed by Gayle King. And it's about this TV commercial. It's her and Kerry Washington. By the way, I think Scandal has jumped the shark. Did you see Scandal last night? Anybody in there see Scandal last night? Have you ever seen it? Have you ever watched Scandal? Oh, you never have. Oh, okay. Well, Kerry Washington is the starette, and she plays Major Washington, D.C. fixer. named Olivia Pope, but styled after an actual person. And anyway, for the entirety of the series, she's had a running affair with the sitting president, A.J. Fitzgerald, whatever the hell his name is. And I haven't seen any episode this season. I've got them TiVo'd, but I think they jumped the shark a long time ago. It's gotten beyond the so far out. It's entertaining still enough to watch phase for me. But apparently last night, she got pregnant by way of the sitting president, A.J. Fitzgerald, or Fitz, whatever his name is. Who cares? And she has an abortion to the tune of Silent Night. Yep, she has an abortion, and it's glorified, it's celebrated, it's heralded. She has an abortion, smiling. It's a paean to Planned Parenthood. It's a tribute to Planned Parenthood. I mean, it's just sickening, apparently. And she has an abortion and lying on the table with the actual abortion taken, and camera shots showing you what it would look like with the doctor making the move from behind her head. Silent night. And there's a couple other things added to it that apparently is just sickening. I mean, just genuinely, literally sickening. Again, I haven't seen it. I've just had a bunch of people tell me about it. I haven't seen a single episode this season. I've got them all TiVo'd in there. Well, I don't actually have them TiVo'd. Well, they are TiVo'd, but I actually have them on Apple TV. So if I ever get really, really bored, I've got them in reserve. Get sick and can't leave the house for whatever reason. But I haven't watched it. Anyway, she is in this commercial with Taraji P. Henson of Empire and Mary J. Blige. And the commercial's just three friends, and they're trying to find music to listen to while they're in their kitchen. And they find Kerry Washington finds a great song, and they all start dancing and jiving and loving it and so forth, and that's the commercial. When it's over, they come back to Iveen and Mary J. Blige talking about the commercial, the concept behind it, who put it together. Gayle King said, "What was your thinking behind the ad, Mr. Iveen? What was the story you were trying to tell?" This is where he stepped in it.
Women find it very difficult at times, some women, to find music. And this helps make it easier with playlists, but they're curated by real people.
But your creative concept, Jimmy, was what? How did it start?
I just thought of a problem. Girls are sitting around, talking about boys or complaining about boys when they're heartbroken or whatever. And they need music for that, right? So it's hard to find the right music. Not everybody has, the right list or knows a DJ or something.
Okay, so there he is. Now, Iveen is 50, at least 50 years old. I'm guessing 45, 50. Are you, what, yeah, I knew it. See, I knew it. See, Snurdly said, what's so bad about this? What's so wrong? I'm just telling you that the women, at least the women in the drive-by media, are outraged over what he said. I don't know how many other real women are upset by it, but the story is that women all over the world who heard this are outraged. Iveen's already done a mea culpa. He's already apologized. What he said was, women find it very difficult at times, some women, to find music. And Apple Music helps make it easier with playlists. They're curated by real people. And then Gayle King says, but your creative concept, Jimmy, was what? How did it start? He said, well, I just thought of a problem. Girls are sitting around talking about boys or complaining about boys. And Gayle King says, yeah, that too. Iveen, girls when they're heartbroken or whatever, and they need music for that, right? So it's hard to find the right music. I mean, where do you search heartbreak music? What do you search for here? Not everybody has the ability to search for that, but we at Apple do. So the sexism is that Iveen believes that girls sit around and do nothing but talk about boys. Well, depending on the age you're talking about, he's pretty right. And when they're talking about boys, they're usually complaining about them. Are they not? Okay. They're heartbroken or what have you. So here's the sexism is that this is a guy he's an adult now, 45, 50, and to him, women are so singularly focused and so one-dimensional that all they do is care about boys, talk about boys, whine about boys, and they run around with their hearts broken. Jimmy Iovine, 62. That's his impression of. So he's saying what they've done is they've set up a system at Apple Music where your average girl, heartbroken, whining and moaning about boys, can go find music that fits the mood. And there was outrage, and he had to apologize for it. I think what Iovine missed, and most men miss this. I have become an expert in this. Let me ask you guys a question. You're sitting wherever you're sitting, and you're not doing anything. You're watching television, you're reading, but you're not bothering anybody, and you haven't said anything to upset anybody. And all of a sudden, your wife, spouse, girlfriend walks in and starts complaining. Not you. Starts complaining about something. Or just starts talking about something. Let's add complaining to it. Most guys make the mistake of thinking that they've got to fix it. That they have to offer a solution or advice. And that is the absolute wrong thing to do, because women in that circumstance are not looking for solutions. They're not looking for advice. They just want to talk. They just want to share whatever it is that's upset them or ticked them off. And if you fire a kiss, fine. But if you at all respond in any way that says, well, here's what you should do, then you've blown it. And she's going to storm out on you because she's not telling you she's incompetent. She's not telling you she's helpless. She's just talking. So the thing to do is sit there and listen. Now, Iovine needs to incorporate that kind of philosophy into his heartbroken playlist suggestions, into his curation and algorithm and so forth. Solutions are not, look, sometimes maybe. But women just want to come in and they just want to talk about it. They just want to share the stuff. They're not looking for fixes or solutions. And if you offer one, you're essentially saying, okay, you idiot, well, here's what you ought to do to fix it. Now, most guys screw it up unintentionally. They're trying to be helpful. It's one of these Mars-Venus things. Trying to be helpful, but that's not what the woman's looking for. She just wants to bitch, to complain about whatever it is. It could be some driver that cut her off. It could be somebody that stole something out of the shopping cart at a grocery. Does anybody go to the grocery store anymore? They have deliveries. All right. So anyway, Iovine's... well, that's true. That's a good example, okay? I just lost the pictures on my phone. Oh, my God. Don't say, are you backed up? Don't say, have you turned on? Don't say anything that's going to be interpreted as you think she's a fool. You just listen, guys. Just listen. That's all. I am an expert. We'll be right back and continue after this. And back we are, Open Line Friday, Rush Limbaugh, serving humanity simply by showing up. Now, I don't know if you have seen it yet today. There are stories all over the drive-by media, the Associated Press, Yahoo News, it's everywhere, that Donald Trump supposedly is calling for the registration of all Muslims in America. Trump is demanding that they all be registered and that a massive database be corrected. And CNN is all over reporting this. Even the Wall Street Journal has picked up on it. There's a problem, though. Trump didn't say it. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened. At a recent public appearance, Trump's coming off the stage. Usual one of his 1 hour to 90-minute appearances. He's probably worn out and spent, and there's the usual crowd of autograph seekers and supporters and fans. And amongst them is a drive-by media reporter who says to Trump, should there be a database system who tracks the Muslims that are in this country? Trump says, There should be a lot of systems beyond databases. We should have a lot of systems, and today you can do it. But right now, we have to have a border. We have to have strength. We have to have a wall, and we cannot let what's happening to this country happen again. Reporter, is that something your White House would like to implement? There's no specificity there. The question is just, is that something your White House would like to implement? Trump has given a multifaceted answer. She says, is that something, without specifying what she's asking about. Trump said, oh, I would certainly implement that. Absolutely. And that's how they report that Trump demands a database and registration for all Muslims, when he didn't say it. He never said it. It's a journalism trick 101. It's right out of the manual they teach you at the first year of journalism school in how to destroy political opponents or powerful people you don't like. It's that common a technique. Audio soundbite proof coming up. Okay, back we are. Open Line Friday. Rush Limbaugh here at 800-282-2882. Now, I'm not sure, but I think that the reporter that asked Trump the question and has totally twisted this purposefully to convey something that did not happen. I think the reporter works for Business Insider. I think the reporter is Hunter Walker. If that's who it is, you need to know that this guy is a major backer of Hillary Clinton, as most in the drive-by media are. He has written endless articles championing her, and now I think he writes for Yahoo News and is the Business Insider politics editor. So here is how this happened. This is in Newton, Iowa. Yesterday after a campaign event, and again, Trump's leaving the stage, and a reporter says, should there be a database system to track Muslims in this country? Now, nobody has suggested that. Keep in mind. Trump has not suggested it. So the reporter's not asking a question bouncing off anything Trump has said. It's just a question thrown at Trump, and it comes to him in the midst of autograph seekers and fans and supporters wanting to meet him after his performance is finished.
There should be a lot of systems beyond database. I mean, we should have a lot of systems, and today you can do it. But right now we have to have a border, we have to have strength, we have to have a wall, and we cannot let what's happening to this country happen.
But that's something your White House would like to implement.
Oh, I would certainly implement that. Absolutely.
What do you think the effect of that would be? How would that work?
It would stop people from coming in illegally. We have to stop people from coming in to our country illegally.
For Muslims specifically, how do you actually get them registered into a database?
It would be just good management. What you have to do is good management procedures. And we can do that.
Do you go to mosques and sign these people up into the system?
Different places. You sign them up at different, but it's all about management. Our country has no management.
Okay, now two things about this. The first is, as I said, everybody in the drive-by media is running with this because they think they've got Trump again. They're salivating out there, folks. They are hoping. They got their fingers crossed. They've doubled down. They're putting this story everywhere. Trump steps in it. Trump racist. Trump bigoted. Trump anti-Muslim. Wants database. Wants to go to their mosques to sign them up. Wants to have them carry around symbols on their clothes to tell everybody who they are and what's... And he never said it. And this reporter, Hunter Walker, retweeted the headline from the AP. The AP headline, Trump says he would absolutely implement Muslim database. This little know-nothing reporter is so proud of his work today. And this is, I say, Journalism 101. This is what they teach you when you want to take out a political opponent or a powerful person you don't like. This is how you do it with innuendo. Again, here's what happened. Trump comes off stage. Should there be a database system that tracks Muslims that are in this country? It's a set-up question from the get-go. Nobody has suggested it. Trump says there should be a lot of systems beyond databases. We have a lot of systems. We should have. And today you can do it right now. We have to have a border. We have to have strength. We have to have a wall. And we can't let what's happening in this country happen again. He has not confirmed a database. He has not confirmed registration of Muslims. He's changed the question to his favorite subject, the wall and the border and keeping illegal immigrants out. The reporter says, is that something your White House would like to implement? Not specifying. If anything, the guy's talking about the border. The last thing Trump said in his answer was talking about the border, strength, a wall. The reporter says, is that something your White House would like to implement? There is nothing specified. The use of the word that, the reporter then can say, well, I meant Muslim registration. Look what Trump said. Trump knew what I was talking about. But Trump's answer was, oh, I would certainly implement that. Absolutely. Reporter, what do you think the effect of that would be? It would stop people from coming in illegally. Trump's still talking about the border. He's still talking about the wall. He says we have to stop people from coming into this country illegally. So how in the world can Trump be talking about the registration of Muslims or anybody when he's still talking about keeping people out of the country? Muslims are here. This is a just good old-fashioned hatchet job by this low-rent reporter named Hunter Walker, who's got everybody in the media reporting it the way he wants because this is what they want people to believe about Trump. This is what they believe about all Republicans. We're bigots, we're racist, sexist, and so forth. And Trump's just come along and confirmed it. And I guarantee you there's a contest inside the drive-by media to see who can be the one to take Trump out. Here is what they are forgetting. This isn't going to hurt Trump. Even their journalistic malpractice is not going to hurt Trump. They haven't figured that out. They keep applying standard, ordinary, everyday tactics on hit pieces to Donald Trump. And all that happens as a result is that Trump increases his support. Trump's support gets stronger. It gets deeper every time they try something like this, because Trump is dead serious about protecting this country and its borders and keeping terrorists and so forth out of the country. He makes no bones about it. He's one of the only candidates that's unwavering on it. It's the number one issue. And you combine what's happening with ISIS and Paris and border security, national security, protecting and defending the country and the people who live here is far and away the number one most important issue because everything descends from it. The economy descends from it. Jobs descend from it. Everything that matters descends from this country remaining a country. It has to have a border. That border has to be enforced. Trump's the only guy talking about it. They think they've got him. They're going to be crying in whatever it is they drink. This is not going to rip the bottom out of Trump's campaign. It's not going to destroy Trump's campaign, no matter how much they're lying, no matter how they try to distort this. Because Trump did not say he's in favor of registration or a database of all Muslims in America. And once again, what's going to happen here is an ever increasingly aware and sophisticated public is going to just get angrier and angrier at the usual childish tactics of the very unrespected drive-by media. Once the public learns what's happened here, the anger is not going to be at Trump. There wouldn't have been that much anger at Trump anyway among his supporters. That's what they don't understand. You people in the media have got to understand something. You're going to have to go about this a different way. You didn't make Trump. You can't destroy him. There's nothing you can do. And look at the links they're now going to try. Exactly what they did to Romney, by the way. This is no different than Harry Reid saying, hey, Mitt Romney hadn't paid his taxes in 10 years. Hey, look at Mitt Romney putting the family dog on top of the station wagon. Hey, Mitt Romney, One of his employees' wives died of cancer. Romney didn't care, went ahead and canceled the health care plan. Didn't care. I don't think this guy's questions were even registering with Trump. I think Trump continued to talk with his own framework in mind, meaning his focus on the wall. Because if you continue on with the soundbite, keep in mind here that Trump's never talked about registering or having a database of Muslims. The reporter asks a fake question. Is that something your White House would like to implement? Trump answers, yeah, under the context. He keeps talking about the wall. He keeps talking about the border. Oh, I would certainly implement that. Absolutely. Trump's still talking about the border. The reporter says, what do you think the effect of that would be? How would that work? Trump, it would stop people from coming in illegally. He's still talking about the border. He's still talking about his wall. We have to stop people from coming in illegally. Reporter, for Muslims specifically, how do you actually get them registered in your database? Trump has never said that he wants to register them in his database. He's talking about the wall. He's talking about the border. This idiot, talentless reporter says, whoa. For Muslims specifically, how do you actually get them registered in your database? Trump says it'd be good management. What you have to do is good management procedures, so we can do that. He's still talking about the wall. He's not even listening to this kid. He's walking out of there. He's answering the question. He's got it answered. He's on the wall. He's on the border. That's what he's talking about. When it's all over, the reporter makes it up that Trump's talking about registration of Muslims in a database. Totally makes it up. Anyway, I got to take a break here. I just wanted you to see this. I wanted you to hear it. The reporter's own words, Trump's own words, because it's been picked up everywhere. And mark my words, the next poll that comes out, Trump's going to he's just going to jump even higher, and they're not going to know what to do with themselves in the drive-bys. But you people in the media are going to have to learn something. When you don't make somebody, you can't destroy them. And you haven't made Trump. The media has nothing to do with why Trump's where he is. And therefore, you can't take him out. You can try. You may think you can. But he's got a bond, a connection with his supporters and his audience that you people are not going to be able to break, no matter how hard you try. So you know how this works. I just got an email from a friend of mine who plays around on Facebook, and he sent me a screenshot of his Facebook post that he sent out. And he wants me to know that he's on top of things. He says, yeah, Trump wants to register all Muslims. The last guy to want to do that was Hitler and the Jews. Come on, folks, we're going backwards. So I just had to write him back, hey, buddy, you've got it 180 degrees wrong. Trump didn't say it. This is a guy who reads the news all day. This is exactly how this happens. You've got every drive-by news source now reporting this. I'm not sure who the reporter was actually got this whole thing started, but there are the suspects who have taken what that kid did and expanded it all over the place. You could mention any drive-by name out there, and you'd be pretty close to being accurate about who did this. I'm not exactly sure who the reporter was at the Trump event. I was told one thing, and now I'm told that that's not necessarily true. But the guy's name I gave you is still responsible for expanding, amplifying, and leading this. That Hunter Walker is who kicked it all off. Doesn't really matter. I mean, they're all the same stripe, and they've all got the same objective here. And this email I just got from a friend of mine who's not an idiot. You know, he's not a casual consumer of news. Because it's in the Wall Street Journal. This guy's a financial guy. He read it in the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal, these guys, is gospel. I have tried to tell every friend of mine, and it's probably gone for naught. I've tried to tell just based on the way I get covered, and they know me, and they know what's written about me is all bogus. I say, could you not apply that to every story you hear, particularly about people you support? Could you just learn to not believe anything you read if it's defaming Republicans in the drive-by media? Could you just learn to be suspicious of it and try to confirm it on your own? But it doesn't work that way. People believe it. There it is. It's in print. It's right there. Or it's on my screen, Rush. You can't write stuff. They can't write stuff that isn't true. Can't tell you how often I hear that. So Trump's going to, I don't know how he's going to deal with this. He will, but let me join. You know, I'm going to go ahead and get in trouble myself here. Can I give you what I think might have happened with a lot of people when they first saw this BS story? What do you think? You're driving around or you're reading or whatever, and you hear Trump wants to register all Muslims. Yeah, get my drift? So I marvel here. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful I haven't retired. I'm thankful I've still got this program and a chance to come here every day and illustrate the dishonest, the reprehensible, the just scummy way these people work. And each time I see something like this, I focus even more on, they're not media. This isn't media. This isn't the news. The media is the Democrat Party. The media is all part of the left-wing establishment that's trying to advance the Democrat Party agenda. Every time you see a story like Trump has to fight media here or overcome, why would you have to overcome the media? The media is just a bunch of journalists telling people what happened who weren't there. And of course, it's this exact opposite. Everybody knows now. Many people, even people who know what the media is, still get sucked in and believing this stuff. But when you read the transcript of what Trump said, when you actually read it or hear it and then compare it to the news being reported, you can't escape the fact that the media is making it up, that Trump never said. Let me grab a phone call. We always try to get one in the first hour on Open Line Friday. It's Leo in Northern Virginia. Hey, Leo, I'm glad you called. Hello.
Hey, Rush. Hey, this whole database thing, you can take it one of two ways. Either it could be good for us, and we should all be in some sort of database. I know my wife and I, she doesn't even have a clearance bit because I do. Her records got breached through OPM. So who's going to keep these records and keep them safe? These guys have already proven that they can hack into wherever they need to. They can forge any kind of document they want. Excuse me. So what's to say they don't go in there and maybe delete their names out of the database or add it in if it's the safe, Muslims, however they label it.
Wait a minute. You're accepting the premise here. And you know it isn't true, and yet you're accepting the premise.
No. Quite the contrary. I think it would be a big mistake to create a database.
Because bad guys can hack it.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask, do you think there aren't such databases in this country? Who the hell do you think has them? If you think there are databases of people, and we know damn well there are, it's called metadata from your phone calls. It's a database. Now, whether it's a database by virtue of your religion or your conservatism or liberalism, or whatever, there are databases all over, and who's got them? The Obama administration has them. Not Trump. And Trump hasn't even suggested it. Remember Maxine Waters? Obama's going to have the biggest database anybody's ever seen. We're going to know everything about it. Nobody knows about it, and we're working on it. It's going to be the best thing. It already exists, folks, and Barack Hussein has it. Wake up! Even Ted Cruz has gotten in on this. Ted Cruz disagrees with Trump on Muslim registry. Says, I'm a big fan of Donald Trump, but not a fan of government registries of American citizens. Even Cruz fell for it. A Republican Party, the establishment, may not let go of this. They may think they've got it. A programming note. Sunday morning, I will be appearing on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. It will be an 11-minute uninterrupted segment at the top of the program, and I will be right here at the EIB Southern Command on camera. I will not be in the Fox studios in Washington. I'll be right here. That's Sunday morning on the Fox News Channel, my friend.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
And you know what? They want to talk about 6 different things in those 11 minutes. So you're going to have to listen fast, folks, because I'm going to have to go fast. I don't know if I'll get to all 6 things they want to talk about. But 11 minutes, I'm still clearing my throat after 11 minutes. Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. Sunday morning, your guiding light, El Rushbo, on the program. We got 1 hour left here on Open Line Friday. It's great to have you here. Now, a couple of things. The first hour, and it was not structured this way, and it certainly did not show prep this way. The first hour, most of it was devoted to correcting the latest drive-by media hit on Donald Trump. And I said at the conclusion of that hour, just check at rushlimbaugh.com, because I can't repeat later in the program the whole first hour. Just check rushlimbaugh.com, and whatever you find there interesting, tweet it and Facebook it, because other than that, this Trump hit piece is everywhere. It is, even Ted Cruz believed it when he saw it. And it's totally made up. Trump did not say that he wants to register and have a database of Muslims in this country. He didn't even get close to saying it. The media played a trick with the way they asked a couple of questions. Trump, by the way, has tweeted the following: I did not suggest a database, a reporter did. We must defeat Islamic terrorism and have surveillance, including a watch list, to protect America. That's the latest. That's the tweet from Trump on this. And he's exactly right. He didn't suggest a database, and he did not respond to a database. The reporter suggested it. The reporter attempted to ensnare Trump in it. Trump thought he was talking about a wall and a border and keeping people out. And he was talking about that, and the reporter just basically, well, it's worse than deception. It's close to lying about it. But anyway, it's all explained at rushlimbaugh.com, first hour, and if there's anything that you want to tweet out or Facebook out to your, whatever you call them, your groups that you do that with, it's up and ready to go. And another thing I want to direct you to is our Rush Revere Facebook page in and of itself. I keep hyping what is happening there. We are inviting young readers of the Rush Revere Time Travel Adventures with Exceptional Americans book series. The 4th book is out now, Rush Revere and the Star Spangled Banner. And we have contests now and then for the kids to submit videos, and they win prizes, and they are awarded first, second, third place, and so forth. And I'm just telling you, without spending a lot of time, it's mind-boggling what these young kids are producing. It's mind-boggling how hard they're working and how creative they are. And, you know, for us, if I may be personal, it's wonderful feedback. I mean, here we're writing these books. We're trying to capture the kids' imagination so that they learn the truth of American history by taking them right to the events that we choose to write about. And then we do these contests based on things that have been written about in the book. And it's just, it's over the moon impressive what they submit. So if you have some time, you'll find out one of the reasons why I'm able to stay optimistic in the midst of, surrounded by all of this pessimism and trouble. So it's the Rush Revere Facebook page. It's www.facebook.com/Rush Revere. I mean, I know you people in this audience will love it. Even if you don't have kids reading the books, I know you will love it. And we're going to post all of these challenge winners over the next few days, so stay in touch. Now, back to the news. Story here from the Federalist. And I don't know how many people actually know this. Although the Obama regime currently refuses to temporarily pause its Syrian refugee resettlement program in the U.S., the Obama State Department in 2011 stopped processing Iraq refugee requests for 6 months after the FBI uncovered evidence that several dozen terrorists from Iraq had infiltrated the U.S. via the program. Now, I had this in the stack. I didn't get to it yesterday. And it's a November 20th, 2013 report by ABC News. Our old buddy Brian Ross. An ABC News investigation of the flawed U.S. refugee screening program, which was overhauled 2 years ago, showed that Alwan was mistakenly allowed into the U.S. and resettled in Bowling Green, Kentucky, one of the terrorists that got through. The point is that back in 2011, Iraqi refugees were being settled in America, and some actual Iraqi terrorists made it through, and so we suspended for 6 months the entire refugee program. Now, the Federalist story that I have here doesn't mention it, but Obama also failed to tell Congress about pausing the program. The ABC story has it. In the wake of the Kentucky case that I just told you about, the U.S. halted the refugee program for Iraqis for 6 months, a fact that the Obama administration did not disclose to Congress at the time. This, according to officials talking to ABC News about the 2013 investigation. And maybe he didn't tell Hillary either. Now, but here's the point, folks. And I'm sure most of you have figured it out now. There is precedent in this country for everything that is being suggested in dealing with the Syrian refugees. We have suspended immigration from 1924 to 1965. I mean, zip, zero, nada. We have deported terrorists who were here as illegal immigrants in the early 20s, anarchist groups. We've deported, we have suspended, and now we've learned we have a religious test for these refugees. And stop and think about it. It's a federal statutory requirement. But we couldn't have a refugee program without a religious aspect. I know some of you are saying, wait a minute, Rush, wait a minute. We have freedom of religion, and people can't be asked about religion. That's not like Obama said, there's not a religious test. Oh, but there is. Stop and think about it. Refugees, in order to get into the country, when things are running normally, and nothing with Obama would qualify as normal, they are asked why they want asylum. And they are required to explain where they're from and what their religion is and other things to explain why they're fleeing their homes. And the number one reason given by refugees for fleeing is religious persecution. Well, sorry, we have to ask them, what is your religion? We have to vet them. They tell us what's going on where they live. That's the reason they're seeking asylum. We, ostensibly, check it out. So if somebody says, I'm from religion A and members of religion A are being persecuted in my homeland of San Cordoba, well, then we go check out what's happening in San Cordoba. And we find out if there is indeed religious persecution or if the applicant is just lying to us. So all of this that's being suggested, it's all been done before. Yet Obama and Hillary are running around talking about, this is not who we are. These are not our values. What values anyway? You know, I'm almost to the point of saying Obama's and Hillary's values are not the values of the majority of this country, and certainly aren't the values we associate with the founding of the country. What values? But even now, learning about Iraq, Obama, when we screwed up, well, maybe we didn't, when 6 Iraqi terrorists beat our system, we shut it down for 6 months. We could easily do it now. There's ample cause. The numbers of people fleeing Syria, our inability to vet them, there's ample cause to suspend it and make sure we vet and investigate the people that we have admitted so far. Would only be common sense in terms of national security and safety. I mean, not to mention the money involved. I saw also it costs $63,000 per refugee to settle them. And who's paying that, folks? You are. Of course, it's kind of a crazy thing because I don't know that anybody's paying it. We're almost $20 trillion in debt. Barbara Walters interviewed Melania Trump. She was on Good Morning America today. They played a preview of tonight's Trenchy, where Barbara Walters interviews Trump's wife, Melania. And just before Good Morning America played the clip of the interview, Barbara Walters said that, now this goes by 7 seconds. Turn up your radios. If there's a lot of noise, road noise, whatever you're driving around, turn the radio up. Because this is what Barbara Walters said about Melania Trump.
If a man said this, I'd kill him. But maybe because she's so beautiful, we don't expect her to be as smart as she is.
Were you able to hear that? This is Barbara Walters auditioning for the Jimmy Iovine Award on the ABC morning show. Barbara Walters said, if a man said this, I'd kill him, but maybe because she's so beautiful, we don't expect her to be as smart as she is. Would Barbara Walters say that about any beautiful liberal babe? Would she assume that a liberal babe is a walking, talking idiot? What's the problem with it? Oh, no, there are plenty of beautiful liberal babes out there. Just go to any global warming rally. Hell, half of Hollywood celebrity, the entire model community has been bought by the global warming. I mean, every damn model in the world, runway or otherwise. Runway, lingerie, Victoria's Secret, they're dunderheads, and they're all conscious of saving the planet and so forth. And of course, the guys, this is what happens. Again, I'm an expert on this. I mean, something about models that attracts men above and beyond just the fact that they're women. Well, a guy will do and say anything to get to third base for a chance to score. And if he's got to agree that we're destroying the planet, he will. If he's got to do it publicly, he will. So some actor or some public figure trying to make it with a model, and the model has been bought, paid for by the global warming crowd, and is out there spouting it, the guy will do what he'll say, whatever. Don't doubt me. Certainly you know this to be the case. But she interviewed Melania. Let's listen to some of the takeaway is that she was blown away by how independently intelligent Melania Trump is. And she sounds here almost like she doesn't believe that Melania Trump encouraged Trump to run because he loves the American people so much. Like she doesn't believe what she's being told here. Remember, this is a promo for what's happening tonight on Trenchy on ABC News. So she says to Melania, were you involved in the decision of your husband to become president?
We discuss a lot, yes, and I encourage him. And I encourage him because I know what he will do and what he can do for America. He loves the American people and he wants to help them.
He loves the American people and he wants to help them. And then Barbara Walters said, when he's criticized, Melania, does it bother you?
It's unpleasant, but I know I can handle it.
Biggest criticism that's untrue that we can clear up. Is there any?
I would say that he's nasty. He's not. And he has a big heart and very warm heart. You see what he is on the campaign trail all the time and on television. And I think America needs a strong leader and tough leader and know what he's doing.
Man, I would think the American left would just go nuts having a woman that talks like this in the White House. I mean, how more European can you get? She sounds European. They think that's the ultimate in sophistication. She didn't stutter. As I say, Barbara Walters could not believe how smart she was. And actually said, maybe because she's so pretty, we don't expect her to be as smart as she is. And they want to tell us that we're the ones that have all this prejudice against attractive women. Give me a break. By the way, speaking of Mrs. Clinton, she's out there now blasting Donald Trump for his never stated comments about registering Muslims into a database. Never said it. Trump, by the way, just tweeted, I didn't suggest a database. A reporter did. That's all he says about it. Then he says we have to defeat Islamic terrorism and have surveillance, including a watch list, to protect America. Now, Ladies and gentlemen, a story here from the Associated Press, which is written from source data from the Pew Center for People in the Press. Now, the headline of the story, study finds more Mexicans leaving the U.S. than coming. Does that story sound familiar to you? Do you have anywhere in your memory recalling or a recollection of this story or one similar to it? Because I do. Now, the first take that you would have, Hillary said Trump's comments on Muslims are shocking, except he didn't make any. Anyway, more Mexicans are leaving than moving into the U.S., reversing the flow of a 50-year mass migration, according to a study published yesterday by the Pew Research Center. And this theoretically is bad news to the Democrats. Oh, my God, it's horrible news to the Democrats. Why we don't need to do amnesty, and they're moving out. They're not, they're self-deporting even. But is it true? We will be back. Talent on loan from God. Okay, here we go. More Mexicans are leaving than moving into the U.S., according to the flow of a half-century of mass migration, according to a study published Thursday by the Pew Research Center. They found that slightly more than 1 million Mexicans and their families, including American-born children, left the U.S. for Mexico from 2009 to 2014. During the same 5 years, 870,000 Mexicans came to the U.S., resulting in a net flow to Mexico, or net loss to the United States of 140,000. The desire to reunite families is the main reason more Mexicans give for leaving the U.S. and moving south back to Mexico. The sluggish U.S. economic recovery and tougher border enforcement are other key factors. What tougher border enforcement is there? I mean, Obama's ignoring the immigration law. Now, I can believe the economy. You know, it's almost too good to be true. A bunch of Mexicans leaving because the economy's in shambles while Obama out there, everybody's celebrating the economy. What a great recovery we got going, and they're using it to encourage more Mexicans to come. And the Chamber of Commerce wants them to come. There's all kinds of jobs for them here, right? There's all kinds of jobs the American people won't do anymore. Come on in. We need you. Now, it's a net of 140,000. So you read the number, you see 1 million here. Whoa. But then wait, 840,000 the other way. So it's a net loss. Could be gain, depending on your perspective. A net loss of 140,000 people leave the U.S. to go back to Mexico. In truth, I mean, the number is that more than 1 million Mexicans have left, but 870,000 have arrived at the same time. So, net loss of 140,000. Now, my memory is I see this story. This is not the first time I've seen this story. Every time the immigration debate starts turning against amnesty, we get this story. There was a similar story in 2012. The Pew report in 2012 was intended to counter the narrative of an out-of-control border in the 2012 elections. They had the same thing in 2012, that we had a net deportation, a net loss, more Mexicans leaving than coming in. And that was intended to counter the narrative of an out-of-control border. This is a presidential re-election year. The border was an issue. It was out of control. If you recall, Romney and all the Republican candidates are going down to the border and taking cable TV hosts with them, and they're trying to expose all the holes in the border. And so the narrative was that the border doesn't exist. I mean, hey, look, there's two of them crossing right over there, Mabel. And look, 6 more of them. See that? And they got them on the Fox News cameras and the CNN cameras, so they're tracking it. So right around that time, Pew hit a story just like this one. Hey, there's nothing to worry about here. Actually, more Mexicans leaving than arriving. And it's timed to reduce the passion around the issue. And I'm sorry, folks, it's the drive-by media. And the leading Republican candidate has this as his number one issue. And throughout the drive-by media, we see story after story after story, 2 of them just today, about how the Republican establishment is at its wit's end trying to find a way to get rid of Trump. And we've learned today that the John Kasich Super PAC is out raising money specifically to run anti-Trump ads in New Hampshire all the way through January. And another story that that other Republican administration or Republican establishment PACs can't find any donors, and they're panicked and they're pulling their hair out and they're thinking, my gosh, Trump may be for real. They're still in a state of denial about Trump, I think. Many of them still think he's just going to quit, that this isn't serious, that he's got some game he's playing, and right before it's time to actually vote, Trump will pull out for some reason and go back to being a TV star. They really are thinking that and really are hoping that. So perfectly timed, a story that has as its purpose, maybe its intention, to say, hey, you know what? The immigration problem, it isn't that big. I mean, look, more are leaving than are coming in. Everything's fine. We don't need to do anything. We don't need a fence. We don't need a border. We don't need to worry about it. Most of them are leaving. If this is true, who would be most upset by this? See, that's an important question to me. Who benefits and who's harmed? Who is harmed by a net loss of Mexican immigrants? And, well, you said Democrat. Okay, all right, fine, Danny. Okay, then if the Democrat Party is the primary agent of harm, wouldn't you expect them to be reacting to it? Wouldn't you expect them to try to do something to stop this? It's not good for Democrats if more Mexicans are leaving than arriving. Wouldn't you expect them to have some reaction to this news? Let's wait a couple, 3 days and see if there is any reaction or if this story just exists out there in the ether as a standalone. I don't know how big a story it is anyway, outside of on this program. Have you seen it anywhere? You have? Okay, good. So it's a big story out there, so we'll see who's happy and who's not. Give it 2 or 3 days, Sunday shows. If then, early next week, and we'll get an indication here of what's really going on. In the meantime, John in Reno, Nevada, as we head back to the phones. Great to have you here, sir. Hello.
Good morning, Rush.
Hi.
I'm a millennial vet, a first-time caller. Started listening to you about 3 months ago.
Wow. Well, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's great talking to you. But I'm calling in regards to how the media is handling Trump. I think everybody's so angry about the situation, they don't care what is said by the media. Because, I mean, from what my group of friends and the people I talk to, everybody is kind of on the Trump bandwagon. I mean, I think we all realize, even the millennials realize that he's kind of our best hope at this point to bring this country back. From everything he says, he brings a certain fire back that I believe has been gone for a while. And being a vet, that's something that I want to see back in this country.
There's no question that as a lot of people think that way, a lot of his supporters. You know, John, you're very shrewd out there because I think you're right. This is a traditional, typical, textbook. It's in the owner's manual media trick. This is how you destroy somebody with whom you politically disagree. The problem they have is that they didn't make Trump. Therefore, they can't break him. But beyond that, traditional media assault rules have been shown not to work on Trump. They've tried everything. They've thrown everything at him. Even things he did say that appear to be impolitic. And he didn't say this, but things he did say, like his opening day, the Mexicans that are coming here, criminals and rapists and murderers, and all it does is end up helping him. And the more angry the media gets, the greater Trump's support is. And the media hasn't figured it out yet because they've only got one mode of operation, and that's the way they're all taught. They're predictable, understandable. They've only got one way of going after people that disagree with, and that's try to destroy them. And this is another one of those attempts. And like you're saying, it's not going to change your support for Trump. They're not going to be able to talk you out of it because of how important he is, necessary he is, and all that. So it's another flailing effort. Doesn't affect you at all, right?
No, not at all. I frankly laugh at it because I look at it, and I mean, I studied political science until I changed my degree because I got sick of the biasness at the schools. But besides that, I laugh at the media, and I look at it, and I go, you guys are just making fools of yourself, just like Obama's making a fool of himself. The entire Democrat Party at this point is making fools of themselves, and I think the country sees that. They don't see any leadership, any pride, associated with what they're trying to teach, and it's hitting people in the heart. And America, they always say is, and during the bad times is when we come together. And I think we're going through bad times right now, and America's coming together, and they're showing these Democrats that, hey, you guys are not what you think you are to us.
What do you think when you hear such things as the Republican establishment is very, very worried because they don't think Trump can in any way win the general election? There's no way Donald Trump can beat Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump would lose in a landslide. We've got to get one of our professionals in there because otherwise Trump will lose big. What do you think when you hear that?
I think they're scared. I think they're trying to pull every string they got because they realize they have no control over this situation right now. And it's true, and I think it comes even from the Republicans. I mean, Jeb Bush is a fine example. I mean, I would support any Republican over Hillary any day of the week, but let's be real. I don't want a scripted president. I want somebody who speaks for me. And when I look at Trump and I hear these people, like the question you just asked, say those things, I realize they're scared. They don't know what to do anymore. They're running out of things. They're playing schoolhouse insults on Trump, and it's just like Trump's past that. He doesn't care.
Well, so far, you're absolutely right. That's been the case, and every one of these efforts, organized or otherwise, like today, I guarantee you, there's some people thinking this is it. Not just on the Republican side, but in the media too. All right, this is it. All right, we got him. All right, Trump stepped in it. Scarlet letter for Muslims, register them, database. He's finished. We got it. No worries. And they're going to wake up and look at the next poll where Trump has not lost any ground, and they're just going to get more and more frustrated and angry at their inability to get rid of him. Because, folks, one thing about the media, understand this. If they want to take somebody out, they're confident they can do it. I mean, they got Nixon. And ever since they got Nixon, boy, they've wanted the next Nixon. And they keep trying and keep trying. And Trump has been in their crosshairs since the day he announced. And he's befuddled them at every turn. And I think John's right. I guess one of the things that attracts him to people, or attracts people to him, is that he is immune to all these media tricks. And you don't know how much people love that. You may, actually. But I'll tell you something, folks, that story's everywhere. On Mexicans leaving more than coming, that it's everywhere. It's proof that there's no need to worry about illegal aliens anymore, folks, because more Mexicans are leaving than showing up. Nothing to see here. Chuck Todd, Jorge Ramos, they're all tweeting this out there. Don't buy it. Springfield, Virginia. Timon, I'm glad you called. Welcome to the program. About a minute and a half, but I wanted to get to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Limbaugh. It really is an honor to speak to you, sir. I'm a Rush baby. I'm a mega ditto head, and it really is a privilege to speak to you right now.
Very much. I appreciate that.
I'm a 26-year-old high school history teacher and football coach, and I got to tell you, in the belly of the beast, it really is a battle every day against misinformation and ignorance, and sometimes plain straight-up hatred for conservative values and conservative teachings. And I got to tell you, sir, listening to you helps me get through some weeks sometimes, and I just want to thank you for what you do, because you really are. You're making a huge difference, and you got at least one conservative fighter here working in the public education system.
Well, thank you. Look, I know what you're up against. It's tough to be the focus of all of that negative attention, with people calling you names and thinking you're weird and telling you you're weird, and you're dealing with ignorant people. And students, you come in and they've got these attitudes, and I know that many times you feel totally alone, overwhelmed, feel like the cause. I mean, there you are, you're trying to teach the truth, and you're already dealing with propagandized young skulls full of mush. But I appreciate your hanging in there. I hope you to continue to do so, because not only are you needed, we need more like you. And I hope, and I bet you are, you're inspiring others that you're probably not even aware of to follow in your footsteps, too. That's it, folks. Hope you have a great weekend. And if you're looking at TV Sunday morning, Fox News Sunday. I'll be on for the first 11 or 12 minutes. Well, the first guest, I'm told. And we'll be back here on Monday, too. So, an added bonus. Yes, sir, Bob. Great to have you back. Rush Limbaugh on the cutting edge of societal evolution, emitting vocal vibrations coast to coast on Friday. Let's hit it.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
Open Line Friday, and whatever you want to talk about, fair game. Great to have you on the program. Telephone number 800-282-2882. And the email address, lrushvo@eibnet.com. So it's going to be fascinating to see where this Trump story goes, because right now, much as I hate it when these people get away with this crap, and crap is what it is. Where we are right now, virtually everybody who has seen that story, who has not listened to this program, thinks it's true. Everybody, and you can't miss the story. I mean, it's everywhere the low information crowd reads. It's at the Wall Street Journal. It's at the AP. It's at Yahoo News. It's all over the place. And the whole thing is that Trump advocates a national registry for Muslims, and they wear some kind of signage or symbol that they are, and so forth. And he never said it. Never, ever said it. In fact, the question was a trick question, and Trump still didn't go there. It's totally made up. But look, I'm not going to spend another 30 minutes explaining it and going through it. It'll be up shortly at rushlimbaugh.com. We update the site now a little bit more frequently, and you'll be able to revisit. And I would suggest you do it. And I would suggest that you Facebook and tweet everything you heard me say once it's tweetable and Facebookable. Once we have it ready on my website, I suggest that you get it out there as best you can if this matters to you. But even at that, I think they're all going to be shocked and surprised. But look, there's a companion story. Before that even hit today, I had this. It's a Politico story. Now, we know the Politico is where the Republican establishment goes to leak. The Politico. That's where the Republican establishment leaks their plans. That's where they leak their intentions. That's the mainstream. The Republican establishment has chosen the Politico as their jumping off point to have people in the establishment know what they're doing, as opposed to leaking it to me, as opposed to leaking it to take your pick of a conservative, but they go to the Politico. So here it is, the headline. GOP group plans most aggressive anti-Trump campaign yet. And there is a companion story here that how frustrated they are. There's a companion story that they can't find any donors. That they're out of donors. They just can't find anybody to fund their anti-Trump activity. That the establishment, the Republican establishment is just at their wits' end. They thought Trump would be gone by now, and they can't find anybody willing to help them because nobody thinks it can be done now. And amidst all of that is this story from the Politico. It's by Alex Eisenstadt. And what this is a pro-Kasich super PAC is on a mission to take down Trump once and for all. And again, they've leaked all this to the Politico. Here are the details. John Kasich has attacked Donald Trump relentlessly in debates, and now his super PAC is planning to invest $2.5 million in the most aggressive takedown of the poll leader yet on behalf of an increasingly anxious Republican establishment. The attack, according to a blueprint shared with Politico, they haven't even leaked it, they shared it with them. The attack will play out over the next 2 months on radio, TV, mail, and online in New Hampshire. Strategists with the pro-Kasich group called the New Day for America say that the budget for the anti-Trump campaign is likely to grow. The offensive comes as some in the GOP are beginning to plot how to combat Trump, who many are convinced would essentially deliver the White House to Democrats if he were the nominee. In launching the effort, the group hopes to position Kasich as a central Trump antagonist. Matt David, a spokesman for the Kasich Super PAC, said, "Yep, we're going to be the tip of the spear against Trump. But rather than go after Trump for his business dealings or his past support for liberal causes, as some of his opponents tried to do, the Kasich Super PAC will depict Trump as someone who would be a deeply ineffective commander-in-chief and ill-suited for the demands of the Oval Office." Fred Davis, the group's colorful Hollywood-based ad maker, who is best known for producing the Demon Sheep ad in the 2010 California Senate race, is working on a pair of anti-Trump TV ads. The commercials are designed to accelerate what we believe would be buyer's remorse that would arise from a Trump presidency. So they're readying ads out there at the Kasich PAC, Super PAC, that will be showing people regretting they voted for Trump at a mysterious time post-Trump inauguration. The group's first volley came yesterday when it released an ad that pictured Trump side by side with Obama. "On-the-job training for presidents does not work," says the ad, which invokes last week's tragic Paris terror attacks. The group is currently spending about $600,000 to air the commercial, though the strategist said that more airtime is being purchased. Now, for all the nervousness about Trump's candidacy, there are few in the GOP have directed resources toward defeating him. This would be one of the first real intense efforts. That's, by the way, bogus. I mean, in each of the first two debates, we heard how this Republican faction or that was assigned to take Trump out. Well, maybe they mean this is the first serious expenditure of money. Republican groups such as the Chamber of Commerce. Really? The Chamber of Commerce, a Republican group still? Who would have thought? Yeah, here we go. Prominent Republican groups such as the Chamber of Commerce and Karl Rove's American Crossroads have not spent any money against Trump. Yet with the Iowa caucuses just a little more than 2 months away, with Trump still riding high, this calculus may be changing. This week, as top party operatives and donors gathered in Las Vegas for the Republican Governors Association meeting, many contributors privately expressed unease about Trump's consistent lead in early state and national polling. Trump responded to the news by lashing out at Kasich on Twitter. Trump responded to the news. Well, anyway, so there you have it. The GOP, and I can't find the companion story here, but I thought I printed it out. It's over the... Yeah, here it is. Here it is. It's a Breitbart story, and it's headline pretty indicative. Here it says, GOP admits it can't raise money to defeat Trump. GOP establishment operative can't get donors for anti-Trump super PAC. Now, this is not New Hampshire. This is South Carolina. This is a whole different super PAC. This is not the Kasich super PAC. Apparently, Kasich super PAC have got no trouble here getting money. Or maybe they've already got the money. They're just allocating how they're going to spend it. This story says this. On Tuesday, in an unwitting and probably grudging admission that Trump's power is not going to erode anytime soon, Politico published an article acknowledging efforts by Caton Dawson, the former chairman of South Carolina GOP, to form a super PAC for the express purpose of derailing Trump. Can't find any donors willing to commit. Caton Dawson acknowledged, I specifically did not find the right donor to get me to that effort. The GOP establishment, befuddled at Trump's resilience, expressed confidence that Ben Carson's discomfort in answering foreign policy questions, seeming... Oh, you hear what Carson said? They're all over him, too. Yeah, he talking about Syrian refugees and others at this moment in time. He said, if you had a rabid dog in the neighborhood, what would you do? And so they're now running around saying that Carson compared Syrian refugees to rabid dogs. And again, everybody knows that's not what he meant. If he was comparing anybody to rabid dogs, he's talking about these terrorists that just wantonly kill like a rabid dog does. But these are the broad-based generalizations and assumptions the media is only too happy to make about Republicans. Let's take a brief time out. We'll come back. It's Open Line Friday. We try to squeeze in a few more phone calls than usual, and that's coming up. Don't go away. Great to have you back. Rush Limbaugh on Open Line Friday. By the way, I found one story. Fox News has a story running now that says, wait a minute, did Trump actually say what it's being reported he says? So there is some pushback other than from here taking place. The real problem with this country and terrorism is that our leadership is the Democrat Party. Our problem is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump's fingerprints are not on one thing that's put this country at risk. The Democrat Party owns that. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, smart power. She defined smart power as empathizing with our enemy, getting to know them, learn what it is about them that upsets them so we can form common ground and reach peaceful solutions. That's smart power. That's how Hillary Clinton would deal with it, folks. So the drive-by media seizes on Donald Trump, makes up a story, makes it outlandish as a means, because they know Trump gets ratings. It's a perfect distraction from Obama's incompetence and Obama's highly dangerous actions that are placing this country at great risk and trying to say that Trump's some great enemy of freedom and liberty and so forth. It's how it happens. And it's their attempt to do two things, take out Trump and cover and distract everybody from the glaring incompetence, the dangerous incompetence of Obama. Okay, back to the phones. It's Open Line Friday, and we are going to start in... That'd be Dan in Chicago. Dan, great to have you. Hi.
Hi, Rush. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, sir.
I would just like to hear from any of these Democratic leaders, the liberals, anybody, to explain to me how in such a liberal country as France that doesn't allow its law-abiding citizens to even own firearms, pistols or rifles, or any kind of weapons of any kind, that such a tragedy could even happen. I mean, if it's outlawed and banned, how did the bad guys even get that?
Well, it's a great question. They did use standard, ordinary guns. There weren't any rocket launchers or mortars or nuclear suitcases. So in a country where you can't get guns, there was gun violence. How does that happen?
I don't know. That's what I'd like to know.
But in the same light, a country that has bent over backwards welcoming these people, a country that has basically surrendered mean, that's been the joke about the French. They've surrendered, and they've been open, and they've let all of these people come in and settle, almost in some cases exclusive parts of Paris. Why hasn't how nice they've been, why didn't that count? Why didn't the terrorists go someplace else? Because France has been so understanding and tolerant. And there's any number of other... Oh, by the way, I saw something... I've got to track this down. Apparently, there are record numbers of young people in France signing up to join the military. I just got a glimpse of a story shortly ago, and I haven't had a chance to track it down, and I didn't print it out, so it's not right in front of me. Be interesting if that's true, that there is a record number, maybe not a record, but just an overwhelming number of young people showing up at registration offices seeking to join the French military to fight these people. Why are you frowning? You find that unbelievable? Oh, you're talking to some dunderhead on the phone. I'm sorry. You can't blame me. I mean, Snerdley's looking directly at me and frowning while I'm making a brilliant point. What would you think? I had to stop and think. He's having to coax somebody, setting them up for a future appearance here on the program. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Good time. The saga continues. It's a Reuters story. France sees a surge in army recruitment inquiries after attacks. And from the article, requests for information about joining the French army have surged following the November 13th attacks in Paris. Colonel Hervé Chenet, head of the Air Force recruitment, said that the numbers visiting his unit's hiring centers have tripled since the attack. He said all the armed forces are seeing increased numbers of requests about registration and so forth. Pretty much what happened here after 9/11. And this has been confirmed, too. I first heard about this last night. Fox News special report. Get this. So here's what happened. I didn't have any backup for this. I've got TV on in the background doing other things. And during special report last night, there was a reason provided for why we have not hit any ISIS oil centers or transportation depots or trucks or any of that. And I was incredulous when I heard it. And I said, I said, it's got to be true. It's Obama. But part of me couldn't believe it. We have not hit any oil tanker trucks, specifically, for the last several years because the Obama administration had decided the drivers were civilians and therefore could not be killed. You know, after the French attacks last Friday, the French went in and had a big hit on Raqqa, which is the ISIS headquarters in Syria. And there was a question that was asked shortly after that. Why is Raqqa still standing? I mean, it's been the ISIS headquarters for who knows how long. Why is it still there for the French to take out? And we find out that Obama never hit it, and he hasn't had anything to do with the oil fields, the oil industry, oil wells and fields in areas that ISIS has commandeered. It's the primary source of money to fuel and fund their operations. And we haven't hit it. And the usual explanation is one found in environmental concerns. Well, we don't want to hit those oil fields. My God, can you imagine the eruptions and the potential fires and the pollution and the economic or ecological damage? No. We can't go out and hit the oil field. No. Well, it turns out none of that was the reason that we left them alone. Despite the fact that these oil tankers are transporting oil that has been used to pay for ISIS's murderous projects. We didn't hit those trucks because the regime said they're more than likely driven by civilians. And here's the backup for it. It's from the Washington Free Beacon. U.S. military pilots who have returned from the fight against ISIS in Iraq are confirming that they were blocked from dropping 75% of their ordnance on terror targets because they could not get the clearance to launch a strike. This is according to Congressman Ed Royce, Republican California, who's chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Strikes against ISIS are often blocked due to an Obama administration policy to prevent civilian deaths and collateral damage. It looks like it's more of the restrictive rules of engagement that has our hands tied in Afghanistan. And now the policy is being blamed for allowing Islamic State militants to gain strength across Iraq and to keep waging terror strikes throughout the region and beyond, according to Ed Royce and former military leaders who spoke Wednesday about the flaws in the U.S. campaign to combat the Islamic State. So we're not even serious about this, folks. Remember, the purpose of armies and the reason for war is to kill people and break things. Now, in this PC era, I can imagine some of you out there, particularly you young millennials, who have not grown up in a particularly contentious, militarily contentious time, and you hear something like that, and it's maybe the meanest, most extremist, outrageous thing you've ever heard. And you can't believe I'm getting away with saying it. And you can't believe that somebody's not going to make me pay for saying it. What do you mean the purpose of armies is to kill people and break things? That's outrageous. That's so mean. I can't believe you could say that. It's exactly the truth. The purpose of armies is to kill people and break things. And there's even more to it. You keep killing people and breaking things until your enemy surrenders and apologizes to you for starting the whole thing in the first place. That's how wars end. And this is a world governed by the aggressive use of force. And we are in the middle of a war, and we're not fighting it. We cannot hit oil tankers. We cannot hit oil depots. We cannot hit oil fields because Obama says there are civilians there. And they would end up being collateral damage. And therefore, they're off limits. Well, if they're off limits, there's no end to this. And if they're off limits, there's no way we're going to win this with these kinds of rules of engagement. It simply isn't going to be possible. You take a look. Go back. What am I saying? Take a look. Nobody's going to do this. I don't know how I even came across this. Believe it or not, I think it was. I was reading something on one of my tech blogs, and there was a story on one of the tech blogs about particular operations in World War II over the English Channel and some of the technology that was involved. And the story had to do with all of the civilian targets that were taken out by German targets in France that they had taken over that had to do with supply lines and depots. The point is you cannot wage a war without hitting such targets. You hit fuel depots. You hit factories where they are making weapons. You hit factories where they're building airplanes. This is what you do in war. It's what's always been done. We've been so PC about it that there were times in World War II we dropped flyers warning average citizens to get out of the area within the next 10 minutes or 12. We were coming. We warned them we were going to be dropping bombs. But civilian casualties, this is really going to shock some people, particularly our young college children who want to feel safe. Many wars have been won precisely because of the number of civilians killed. That's why Japan surrendered near Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's why the Japanese surrendered. And there were a significant number of civilian deaths in our bombing of Germany. And by the way, the Germans were trying to kill civilians in Britain. That's what it was all about. That's what the Blitz was all about. The purpose of armies is to kill people and break things. And now we are governed by these surgical strikes where if we can't be guaranteed of only hitting a military soldier, then we don't do the attack. In fact, you young college children, that's one of the reasons Osama bin Laden was still alive to direct the attacks on 9/11. He was in our crosshairs numerous times before 9/11. Bill Clinton and the gang would not pull the trigger on bombing where he was because there were women and children around. Purpose of armies, kill people and break things. And here we have Barack Hussein Obama with restrictions on targets we can't hit because there might be civilians there. Look, the bottom line is all that means is that there's no way we're going to win this. We're not going to slow it down, and we're not going to get close to even stopping it. And this is what gives rise to questions. How serious is Obama about this? This is why so many people think it's really getting dangerous out here. We're being led by somebody who may not even be serious about winning this. I mean, he's out there talking about how he's got them contained and how their base of operations is actually shrinking. He also said that at the same time he said he's got them contained. The drive-bys are not reporting the second part of that. They're just reporting he said that ISIS is contained. But he also said their base of operations is shrinking. Their sphere of influence is shrinking. Yeah, now look, I got to take another break. Be patient, friends. Coming right back. Don't go away. Thank you for patience. Those of you waiting on the phones, we get back to Peyton in Greenville, South Carolina. Hi, Peyton. Great to have you here. Hello.
Hey, Rush. Been listening for 25 years. Just to get right to my point, I was wondering what you thought about what I'll call the Gowdy factor. I live here in the 4th District of South Carolina, and Trey Gowdy being the most popular conservative figure, do you feel like he holds the keys at all to who actually wins here in South Carolina?
Do I feel like he holds the keys to who wins in South Carolina? You mean what? You mean anything, like, or the governorship, or?
Well, what I'm saying is, do you feel like who he endorses? He was on stage a couple days ago at Bob Jones University with Ben Carson. Who he endorses, do you feel like that's the person who will win here in South Carolina? And if so, what is in that for Mr. Gowdy?
Okay, I'm having to read what you said here. You're saying some things I didn't know. Did he endorse Ben Carson on the stage? Is that what?
No, he didn't. He was just up there with him.
He was up there with Ben Carson at Bob Jones University. And so you're asking, does his standing side by side, is he so powerful that will influence people to support Carson?
Yeah, number one, or who he eventually comes out for in public support. Do you feel like South Carolina will follow the lead of Trey Gowdy?
Well, it's possible. I've interviewed Trey Gowdy for the Limbaugh letter. Seems like now a couple years ago. I have always believed, and I told him so, by the way. And by the way, I should tell you, you might not have picked this up reading the interview, but when it was over, I had been so favorably impressed, and I had been up things I'd seen him do in terms of the committee chairmanships that he had run and hearings he had run, and just his general public statements. I'd been really impressed, and I told him how at the time we did not own the house. Whenever I don't think we had taken the house back yet, so it may be longer ago than that. And I was really giving him a lot of praise for the way he was conducting himself. And he was talking about what a lonely place it is, and how he missed his family, and sometimes he questioned whether it was worth it, because I'm pretty sure the Republicans were in the minority when this. And I remember just encouraging him, and telling him that he had much more support out there than he probably knew, and he was very appreciative of it, and I always got the impression from that interview that he was serious, committed, former prosecutor, was talented and qualified to be a combatant against the Democrats, which was something the Republican leadership wasn't inclined to and still may not be. So I don't know if he has achieved the kind of power Strom Thurmond had in South Carolina. When Strom Thurmond endorsed you, you were done. He could pave the road for you. I don't think Gowdy is there yet. I don't know that he's seeking that, but he's. I think he's a great guy. He's a class individual. I've heard some people say that he was too close to Boehner or got too close to Boehner and the leadership. But don't forget, the leadership put him at the chair of the committee. I mean, it's a lot of masters that you have to balance and pay. But I never got the impression that he had been compromised or was compromising what I always thought was a genuine in-his-heart conservatism. So I hope that helps. I'm still not sure what the question was. I'm not aware he's endorsed anybody. Has he endorsed anybody? Yeah. You know what, Peyton? I'll tell you, the best answer to your question is wait for the day that he does endorse somebody. When that day comes, then what you can interpret from that is that he thinks he has achieved a significant amount of power that his endorsement would matter. That's the thing to keep an eye on. Mark in Naples, Florida. It's great to have you here. Hello, sir.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
My concern is with all these governors who have not allowed Syrians to come in. I applaud them for that. But where is the logic in drawing a parallel between when the Cubans were a threat to us, we closed our borders and didn't allow refugees from Cuba and just recently opened it. But, why is it that Hillary is saying, this isn't American, this isn't who we are? That is who we are. When someone poses a threat, we close our borders. Or that's how we should be doing.
Yeah.
Is that a correct parallel?
No, you're right. This is why I have spent so much time this week going over the actual history of immigration. Let me repeat it. Perfect opportunity here with this question. By the way, the real question you ask is, what is Hillary Clinton talking about when she talks about that's not who we are? Obama's the same way. It's just words. It's Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama attempting to tell you that liberalism is the American way, and it isn't, and it never has been. And it's not going to be, if any of us have anything to say about it. Once again, folks, 1924 to 1965, you know how much immigration there was? Zip. We shut it down. We closed the borders. Can you imagine doing that today? The next thing you're asking, well, why, Rush? Why did we do that? Because we had just allowed to immigrate millions from Europe, war-torn Europe. And it took time to assimilate them. What does that mean, Rush? Well, it means that when they got here, we had to teach them how to be Americans. They wanted to be Americans. They maintained their original identity, of course, and culture, but they wanted to become Americans. Well, that takes time. America was a distinct culture. It was unlike any other place in the country. The difference is those immigrants wanted to be. And even during the days of no immigration, we had anti-immigration protests. There were anarchists doing domestic terror attacks in this country. And we deported them. We found out we deported them. We've done everything that Hillary and Obama say, that's not who we are. That's not America. That's not our values. Everything they're saying, we've done it. We have religious tests, statutory, required United States federal law, religious tests for refugees. And we have routinely employed them, the religious tests. There's nothing being proposed that we have not done in the past to defend and protect the country, particularly in times of attack or war. I'm going to tell you something you may not know. Barack Obama closed the Iraqi refugee program for 6 months back in 2011. Just shut it down for 6 months. It has been done. I'll give you details when we come back, because I'm sure you don't know this.